So,
Good morning. Welcome to Tuesday. What would happen if you lost everything? We're going to find out this morning in our discussion on a Clarion Voice. Morning, live from the Hub Studios in Atascadero. This is a Clarion Voice. I'm Mark Sobowitz, along with our backup crew, Debbie and Selena, and my partner, Mike Donaldson. And we hope that you're enjoying your Tuesday. It's a little bit overcast, but that's okay. We can deal with it. Anyways, today we're going to be talking about what would happen if you lost everything. And as you probably know, there's been a lot of difficulties that have been experienced by people around the world. The wildfires in Maui, the hurricanes in Florida. We've had flooding in Libya and earthquakes in Morocco. All sorts of things that are happening all at once. These people have lost everything. So what would you do if you were in that position? Mike, good morning to you, sir. Hello.
good morning. Had to wake up there.
If I remember correctly, you said something about being involved with a hurricane at one time when you were in Hawaii. Is that right?
Hurricane Iniki. Yeah.
Okay. So what happened at that point in dealing with the damage?
We were fortunate. We didn't lose everything. Where we settled, where we lived on top of this mountain. I shouldn't say on top, on kind of above. We were protected by eucalyptus trees.
Okay.
They're very tall. Now they almost all fell down or lost so many limbs that it was over 8 feet tall of just limbs, in front of the house, but the house was okay, So what we lost was the kids couldn't go to school. They tried everything they could to kind of get something so you can get the kids someplace so you could deal with other things, but there was no water, no electricity.
Okay.
It was living with minor, with there was no convenience at all.
So how did you deal with that? I mean, as far as
well, everything is, I really feel for the people in Maui because there are homes they lost everything. Well, my sister, who lives in Malibu, lost her home completely, her and her husband, in the Woolsey fire.
Okay.
A few years back, and they lost everything. I mean, everything. Pictures, you name it. There just wasn't anything left of the house. They had to evacuate it at one point, and the fire just came down from the hill and took everything. Well, it's devastating, and this is the part where you feel, what would you do if you've never experienced it, or if you've never even considered it? Everybody needs to consider the possibility, because it'll set you up for relying upon God, relying upon His love, knowing that it wasn't anything that you did, said, or believed, but it was just happened, and things like that happen.
So what did your sister do, sister and your brother-in-law do after they lost everything?
They got a hotel.
Pardon?
They moved into a hotel for a while.
Okay. What else could they do?
They are rebuilding. As a matter of fact, they'll be done now. I believe this December, they'll be done with the house, which is exciting. because we used to gather there a lot. They have a beautiful view of Maui up there on the hill, and it was a family get together place. It still is for many years, but we haven't been able to use it.
Right.
So anyway, we're excited for that to happen, but they've just gone through the ringer, and they had to keep trusting God because you have to deal with insurance companies. There was a class action lawsuit. There's a bunch of things that are happening, and it's emotionally pulling. You're working with contractors, and not all of them are above board. Let's just say that.
Right.
And that's just, it's hard. It's hard when you have to keep hitting your head against things. Well, they've done a lot of focus on ministry. That's what they did.
Okay.
So, they got a fifth wheel, they parked it on the property, and they're able to stay there while they're building just down the area. They're building a home. So they're actually up on this other area of the same property, and they've just been able to live there out of that fifth wheel now for years. But still, they kind of just built a little. This is what we do. But it didn't stop them from traveling to places, San Bernardino, Riverside, um, and other places for ministry. They kept going out and ministering for God, for Jesus, every place they could. Someone would be, over there, they'd go over there, they'd help minister, they'd be there, praying for people. And I I'm pretty excited to see how God has transformed their lives so that they're more ministry focused. So they didn't spend all their time, wallowing in self-pity.
Okay. Because that is the tendency at times for people. And I think that that's because maybe they don't have a relationship with God.
Correct.
And I think that that is the direct result of that. I know that, I've been living in California for, many years and have gone through all the earthquakes
Mhm.
that have occurred, and fortunately, I haven't been in a position to lose everything, but it was kind of scary because of the fact that the last one that I remember, the one that was in near Hearst Castle in Cambria, I was working in San Luis Obispo, and my late wife Kathy was not working at the time, and so she was home. So I was concerned about her and the damage that might have occurred, to our apartment and things like that. So I was concerned about her physical welfare, not about the material things, but about her physical, well-being. And the point came out when we were talking the other morning about losing everything. What's the most important thing, as far as losing things are concerned? I mean, what do you prioritize? I mean, trusting God is certainly one thing, but
Yeah. But losing everything. I mean, that's like what has happened, to some, where their house is either blown over or burnt up or whatever. I mean, that's really losing it all. Um, that's I have not experienced that, you know. But like you're saying, um, if you are in love with your Corvette, you know,
right,
if you cherish your Corvette and you lose your Corvette, it's that. I mean, think about that,
sure.
because there's some things that like you say, prioritize. What is it that you put your faith in? I love the fact that you can never lose your love for God. You can't, because He will always love you. You can always count on His love for you. You can't lose that. You can't lose your relationship with God ever. So there's some things that are eternal, and that's what you got to lean on is the eternal and not the temporal.
So it's important to lay the foundation of a relationship with the Lord so that if anything did happen like that, in losing your home or whatever it happens to be, the material, mementos and things of that nature.
It won't matter.
Right. And that's something that I think, that people forget because they're thinking about, rebuilding and things like that, and, I understand that, I mean, they have to move on somehow or another, and so, without a strong foundation, then they are going to, wallow, in the mire, so to speak, of the negative effects of what happened, and,
It'll bring them down fast. You know, then you have like no hope. I mean, we had people. If he did landscaping, if I'm not mistaken, and he had just finished remodeling this condo um, right by Prince Kahio Beach in this area on Kauai. And I mean, just finished. They just put the carpet in. Okay. And then, like the next day, the hurricane came
mm,
and took the whole thing. I mean, and he paid cash for everything. He owned it
oh my
outright.
goodness,
Yeah. Ended up hanging himself.
really?
Yeah. In that unit because it was all he just felt like he that's what he placed all of his, you know, everything. He placed everything into this, you know. Um, there was another gal, because I think the deaths that happened on Kauai, I mean, it was miraculous of what we, it was just the devastation was all over the island. But most of the deaths were the people that, there were some suicides because people were so, hooked into what it is they invested in. So if your life is invested in things and you lose those things, then you have no life. If your life is invested in Christ,
Then you haven't lost
it doesn't
everything.
matter. Yeah. It
Right.
doesn't matter what you lose, you're still invested. And your investment is in your relationship and your love for God. Knowing that he'll handle the whole thing, That we had somebody that had um uh, they were supposed to pay for their homeowners insurance, and she hadn't mailed it. It was in an envelope in her purse, that
Mhm.
she found a couple days later. I don't know what they did. I mean, I think you got to show some grace in that, but they were thought that they had lost everything because they had no insurance.
I think the emotional trauma that's connected with any kind of devastation, whatever it may be, it's like, the initial reaction that you have, to losing and things like that. It occurs to me that when they were talking to people initially after the wildfires in Maui, people were being interviewed about, what are you going to do or
Mhm.
whatever. And one thing that stood out was something about the Ohana spirit. And I'm not totally familiar with that, but it's almost like something that's going to allow you to persevere. It's almost like, having a relationship with, with the Lord. You have to go on. You have to have oh, the Ohana spirit. Is that something like, sharing
Family.
or something like that?
It's like family and home.
Ah,
It's we got you. We got you covered, you know. We'll gather together, we'll figure this out together, and we'll move on together.
there
That's
you go.
that's the Ohana spirit.
I wonder. You know what? I would like to think that would occur here as well. Just in this, in the local area. If we ever had, like an earthquake or heavy rains that caused, major flooding or
Mhm.
things like that, because we've had that, happen, in the fires and things like that. I would like to think that people would gather together here.
They do.
Yeah.
We had this well, um, being white on Kauai uh, made me a haole. All right, and haoles and locals typically don't mix because
Yeah.
you know. Um, and when I say locals, it's funny because they don't have to be Hawaiian. They could be Filipino. They could be,
Mhm.
Portuguese. But they're local. Okay.
Yeah.
So they've been there maybe a generation longer.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Just that's that.
Mhm.
Well, they lived right behind us, uh, on where we lived and off to the left. And they, we never talked to each other, you know, until the middle of the hurricane.
Okay.
In the middle of the hurricane, and I say the middle because there's a point where the eye was over the entire island. All right. And so it's just like this eerie calm.
Mhm.
You have all this wind and things are blowing against your house and things are getting all beaten up. Then we had this period of silence for a while to get ready for it to keep moving. And then you get the backside of it. Right.
Mhm.
Well, we got the brunt of it when it came and hit this side, but the backside, it kind of hit the back of the island. So it didn't really do as much. It was just mostly wind and rain. Okay. But during the eye, I'm out there with my screw gun helping my neighbor screw things back together and put stuff on their windows, and just to kind of protect their house. And we became friends
There you go.
really quick, you know, and, they had, we had nothing, and they said, "Look, if you want to ever cook anything, we have propane here in our house, and it still works." So there was like this give and take all of a sudden, we had relationship and stuff.
I think that would happen here too, because I know that it happened to the earthquake in Paso Robles. I know that developed here amongst the people that
Right.
were affected, the most. And I think that somehow or another, we need to establish that foundation of, kindness towards people, not necessarily to wait for a devastating event, but to do that as a general rule to help people out. I know that we've interviewed people that have, helped the homeless or, people like that, that
Mhm.
go out not necessarily waiting for, a major event to do that, but to actually go out and, help people to be kind to people and establish that foundation. Because then when you do that, then you're able to, feel like, you're not alone in this. I mean, we're never alone because we always have Christ within us. So we're never alone as far as that goes. But as far as a support mechanism, in the event that anything did happen, then you would have people that you can rely on, and to help you, and that's that sort of thing. I mean, because think about the fact that when the Christian church was being established, like in the book, and when it was talking about in the book of Acts, where people gathered together their properties and things like that, and they shared all sorts of things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember hearing about that.
But that established a foundation of being able to, support one another, and share in
But what
spreading the gospel.
what were they under?
Excuse me?
They had to kinda leave the city because they were under persecution, right?
Okay.
So here all these people are being persecuted all of a sudden, right? And, that's when they kinda gathered and they were having obviously problems,
Yeah, right.
trying to stay alive because they were, like I said, and so, well, hey, I've got an extra tunic, right? You know, you lost your what you call it? I've got 3 here, you can have one of mine, I mean, that kind of a thing. So that kinda happens. But I mean, when you kinda look at, what the circumstances behind the whole, you know, giving thing.
Mhm.
Nobody was asking anybody. I love that. Nobody was asking anybody to give whatever,
They
you
just
know? They just did
they just
because,
did it, yeah.
"Hey, we're in this together,"
Yeah.
and
Because I like that, like I was referring to earlier about the Ohana spirit,
yeah,
we're gonna get to,
get through
through
it,
this together.
yeah.
And I think that that's something that, I think it's there. It's not like it's missing necessarily, in this area, because of a lot of different programs are trying to help people in different ways, but, And I think we need to continue to do that because it's not easy these days. I mean, people have all sorts of difficulties, that they're going through without necessarily, having, a devastating event, and so
Mm.
we need to perpetuate that more so, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, yeah, I forget who it was that was talking about homeless people, but they were just they didn't look at them like homeless. They looked at them like they were just displaced for a period of time,
Mhm.
trying to get them back on their feet again, get them back into a place where they don't feel displaced.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were talking about your sister and brother-in-law. I mean, they had to live in a hotel. They were displaced temporarily
Yeah.
until, they were able to get the fifth wheel. I mean, that's what's happening, in all these places that are being affected, by these devastating events. They're
Yeah.
all displaced.
Yeah. But there's people that are having devastating, life-changing displacement, right here in this county.
Sure.
That's what
Abs-
I'm talking about. I mean, like, you have to feel for these folks, and I do, and there's a part of me that wants to help,
Me
you
too.
know, and then there's another part of me that goes, what the heck do I do to help? you know, and so I kind of leave it to the experts because there's some people who, and I say that, um, that sounds like a cop out. I'm just going to say it up front, you know, leave it to those who know. But there's some people that have more of a heart for those folks,
Mhm.
you know, and it's almost as if God has placed that in them,
Yes.
and I believe that.
Right.
I have a heart for a different kind of group of people or vision for what I'm supposed to be doing, but you know, I want to support them in their endeavors, and we have always been a part. The Adlamire has always been a part of supporting your vision, supporting what it is. God spoke to me very, very, very early in my walk with Him, and He told me, He says, "Be a dream fulfiller, not a dream breaker."
Mm.
So help others fulfill their dreams, and you're going to see me constantly do that. People have a dream for something, and if I catch it, if I catch your dream, I'll help you. Especially if God says you need to help that brother.
That's exactly what you did with me.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. I mean, because you saw my dream, you saw what I wanted to, what I was trying to accomplish, and you said, "Okay, I need to help this boy." And you did. And here we are 3.5 years later.
There you
And
go.
so I'm always going to be grateful for that, but and that's the thing that we need to, I agree with the dream fulfilling part because,
Yeah.
if you can help support somebody's dream, then
You should. You should.
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
their dream. Help them fulfill it.
Yeah, that's a great, way of looking at it, because when people are displaced, there's a gal who's put on social media, the fact that she's had some difficulties, you know, um, I won't mention names because that's not fair, but um, and she continually updates people about the fact that she's going through a rough time and needs some support as far as trying to get things settled in her life, and so she's had a GoFundMe page and things like that, and there are people that have supported her, but and she's the one person I can think of that's been consistent in seeking, support, for her efforts, and people have rallied around to help her. But it's not easy, I mean, she has a dream of just being stable, you know. I mean, think about the fact that the people that have lost their homes and things like that, their dream is just to be stable, to go back to their lives in some way or another. But I believe that their perspective has changed when they go through that. I wonder how many people who have been through these devastations, actually, turn to God if they hadn't already.
Yeah. Or looked at the things in their life and thought, well, that's not as important because I have my family.
Right. exactly.
What's the most important? Like, I think it was Ernie that was making that,
Right.
Rick Eppo, yeah.
He was exactly right. I mean, because
What's
what's
the
most
most important?
important?
Yeah, start with your
Absolutely.
priorities and then, go from there.
Well, I think to answer his, question, then to me it would be family, and
And he's lost family.
yes, he has.
Yeah.
Very true. And people rallied around him, and
Mhm.
supported him in their grief and things like that. But his perspective changed.
Yeah,
What's the most important?
yeah. What do you
And
value? Yeah.
yes, what do you? Okay, in order to answer the question that we've been talking about, what do you value most?
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly, you can't place your energy on the material things because you're going to, be lost. But I think having a relationship with God, I value more so than ever before. No matter what I've gone through, and having family and friends to support you is certainly up there on the list. And it's just, what it is. It's having peace of mind.
Mm.
That's that's what I value, to have peace of mind, because I can't imagine the emotional trauma that people are going through that have been displaced. I can't imagine because I've not been in their shoes. But I know that the foundation that I've set in relying on God more so is going to help me if there is ever a situation that comes up like that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know any way else to deal with it. I mean, as I grow older, maybe I appreciate I appreciate things more so than and not the material things, but other things. It says, I think it's in Colossians, set your mind on the things above and not the things of the earth. And I think that's what we need to do, is set our mind on the things above, because this is our temporary home, folks. We're not here forever, okay? Um, so hopefully we've answered the question. What would you do if you lost everything? And if you have another answer, then feel free to comment on our Facebook page, Clarion Voice, or make some comments here on
YouTube.
our YouTube channel if you so choose. We certainly hope that you've liked this video, and if you know somebody who's going through trauma and what have you, share the video. Let them know that we care, and we want to help as much as we can, and that's what we try to do here on the Clarion Voice. We try to help people and educate them. And if you want to be notified of future videos or future events, then please hit the bell. We would certainly appreciate that. And we hope that you have a wonderful week, and take a moment to step back in your life and look at what you have. Have an attitude of gratitude.
Amen.
Okay? So enjoy your week, and live from the Hub Studios in Atascadero, this has been a Clarion Voice. I'm Mark Sopowitz. Thank you.